want to welcome everyone this morning to the Next Generation Learner Experience webinar with an emphasis on how to streamline your time to learning. In this presentation, we will do a deep dive into the current state of employee retention and the importance of retraining and reskilling. We will cover how to provide growth skills to your teams and best practices for effectively onboarding new team members and how the absorbed learner experience can support your unique training needs. Before we go ahead, I just want to review a quick few housekeeping things. This session is being recorded and it will be available to start viewing in the Summit portal next week. All attendees have been automatically muted and the cameras are off and will remain that way throughout the session. If you have any questions, and we encourage you to answer questions or ask questions throughout the session, please use the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. We will have a Q&A section at the end, but feel free to ask questions throughout the session. So on the agenda today, we are focusing on the learner experience, and we'll begin by discussing why it's important to focus on your learner experience. Then we'll move on to what does the next generation of learner experience mean and how does that impact your organization? And then we want to encourage you to share your ideas and talk to you about a few ways you can continue to do that. And finally, we'll wrap up with that Q&A session. So make sure you keep your questions coming in. We do want to hear from you, especially around gains, pitfalls, and successes. We want to hear from you what kind of gains, anything that you can see that you can benefit from the features that are being released. What's working for you? We also want to hear from any pitfalls that you see, anything you think that we should be avoiding or that doesn't match your needs. And finally, we'd like to hear about success. What does that look like for you? What does it look like when we're done? And how can we make it more successful for your learner? But enough of me. I want to introduce you to your speaker today. Demetrio has more than 30 years of product development experience and has been a product manager at Absorb for over 4 years, focusing on the learner experience. He has a passion for the why and for identifying strategic opportunities for solving customer needs and delivering results. He likes to support his teams to grow their skills and to contribute to the growth and success of Absorb. An avid sports participant, coach, and fan, Demetrio loves sports, especially soccer, football, and baseball, and knows what it means to be a great team player. With that, I'll hand it over to you, Demetrio.
Thank you, Kim. Welcome, everyone. It's great to be with you today. We want to get started with why is there added focus on the learner experience over the past year plus. So we understand why learning is such a challenge for businesses, and here are some important ones we have in our sights. The first challenge is learning is designed around admins. In the realm of LMS technology, it's classically strong in its administrative features, and still it can leave the learner audience in the rearview mirror. And this is why we've seen the expansion of LXP technology. Second challenge is keeping learners engaged. This is relatively straightforward because we here today experience the challenge of staying focused, I'm sure. Today's learner has more distractions than ever before, and we continuously need to find ways to keep the learners engaged and focused. The third challenge is around the development of skills. And once upon a time, the idea around training is that most courses could fit mass audiences. And today, as employees, customers, and partners become more specialized, training needs to match that specialization and afford growth for individuals. And the fourth is probably front and center for most of us is training in the hybrid workplace. The workplace is more dynamic than ever, from remote work that's relatively untethered, where talent works on-site and elsewhere, or a combination of the two. And organizations need to provide flexibility to meet those needs. So what do learners need to be successful? Well, it needs to be engaging. Having an engaging learner experience helps people focus on their training and follow through with completing it. So this can include things like gamification, but I think mostly addressing what is at the core here in terms of competing priorities, leaving less time in a day, and therefore an emphasis on providing smaller, bite-sized learning that can be consumed in short spurts, referred to as micro-learning, becomes front and center. Second, learning needs a structure. For L&D leaders, having a curriculum with a set of mandatory courses or course lessons with paced progress creates a flow that keeps learners on track with their training so that they can complete it efficiently. And third, in terms of ease of use, we need to remove the friction from our training for it to be done effectively. Learners need to get into the system, find what they need to take without hassle, and therefore the emphasis on streamlining our time to learning in our current release. And alternatively, they will find themselves disengaged and not wanting to frequent the training platform. Fourth, we all like accomplishing things, I'm sure, and it feels rewarding to make it to the end of something. We want this for learning too, and think that straightforward and rewarding training helps learners attain more education and stay on their learning journey. My apologies. Jump to slide there. Over the past 2 years, I can let you know we have also been readily aware of these ever-growing trends, and Absorb has leaned into peer-to-peer social learning with the collaborations we released last year. A recent study showed that 2/3 of organizations said more peer group collaboration and more application of skills to real-world situations would improve the impact of training. And this is driven also by changes in demographics in our workplace, which in some cases span more than 4 generations. And this warrants learning from the experience of your peers. And we also want you to know that learner-centric training and personalized experiences will be a cornerstone of the next learner experience. And you may have seen the Gartner study recently shared by Absorb, where it states learning experience remains top priority and employee experience takes center stage. So again, organizations continue to look for technologies to improve the learner experience, and almost 80% of Gartner learning inquiries reference or highlight this importance of the learner experience. And it also states LXP demand remains strong, especially in pharma, life sciences, service-related industries that are searching for more open learning platforms that offer better personalization capabilities and skills management. And so again, as the digital workplace evolves, organizations are looking to LXPs as a way to aid in this learner adoption and drive engagement. And we here at Absorb, we believe we're in a unique position to bring you and your learners the best of both worlds, both admin-centric and learner-centric learning, and all of that through one simple and engaging interface. So that takes us to the next generation learner experience. So to begin planning this next generation, we first delved into what worked well with our current learner experience and what did not. And we took multiple approaches to gathering the feedback from a variety of sources to break down which areas could be improved. And we sifted through hundreds of your suggestions posted to our previous suggestion portal and our current ideas portal. And we also engaged your client success managers to gather and refine your ideas further and identify the most impactful ones. So we stacked up most of these like-minded requests. We sorted the ideas with the highest votes, and then we took even seemingly neglected suggestions into serious consideration for our roadmap. And I want you to know we've committed to more than 18 ideas from the current ideas portal for 2022. And also, as we dug in on in this idea gathering with efficiency and engagement as the driving pillars, we define efficiency is defined as improving the time to learning, engagement defined as how much value learners find in the LMS. We also found a third common thread around personalization, again, defined as surfacing the most pertinent learning opportunities applicable to a learner. And even further within these 3 high-level pillars, we found these themes of ideas that I wanted to share with you. Discovery, the seeking and finding of valuable learning opportunities, course completion, getting to and through courses more readily, The UX and navigation in line with what our UX team learned from a study with regards to learner patterns and improvements. Fifth, gamification, making learning a healthy competition and providing a sense of accomplishment. And configuration, the ability to build on the department template configuration options already available to you. So again, ultimately, we will measure the success of our next learner experience by the following metrics: time to learning increases and increases in engagement by learners seeking new learning opportunities. So next, let's look at some brilliant ideas from you, our clients. So the first idea was around ILC enrollment challenges and misses. We're well aware that learners forget to choose a session at the time of enrollment, as well as unknowingly signing up for a waitlisted session and having to painstakingly switch sessions. The second idea, brilliant idea that came in through the suggestions portal was learners want to get to the task at hand quickly. So we need a simplified learner element with a list of items coming due. And the third brilliant idea was around personalization. And this is both from an admin perspective in terms of personalized messages out to your departments, as well as from the learner perspective, presenting learning specific to each learner. So the first major element of the July release was streamlining ILC enrollment. And again, this was one of the biggest pain points we heard from you. So which required changes to ensure effective session selection when enrolling in an ILC. So for how many of you on this call was this an administrative headache? You know, I certainly would love to hear your perspectives on that. So please do share those in the Q&A. To that end, you know, the first image on the left, you can see in the first row describes the different use cases we confirm with many of you, our client admins. At a glance, learners will now have more clarity on what actions to take. So if there is an ILC defined with one or more forthcoming sessions, even if one is waitlisted here at the top, the action will read choose session, and the learner will be required to pick a session from the ILC details page. So if they exit the ILC details without selecting a session, the learner will not be considered to be enrolled in the ILC. That is, the ILC and the session enrollment are now considered an atomic action. If they've already enrolled, as you can see in the third row down below, it will read view to indicate no further action is required for enrollment. And I'll show you in a bit how this, in combination with potentially surfacing these on your what's next tile, will give the learner the understanding of what sessions are forthcoming. And I do want to note that we did, for the following edge cases, required by some of our clients to still afford that if the ILC has no future sessions defined, or if all sessions are full and do not have a wait list, the learner will still be able to enroll in just the ILC sessions. And those are the two use cases in the middle there. So if you don't want to afford these loopholes, we recommend you have at least one future session defined or one with a wait list before you make the ILC available to your learners. So the next major element was streamlining online course workflows. And the overarching goal here was to adopt a pattern you will see with many industry standard content patterns for platforms, for example, YouTube. So there is most certainly different information needed by a learner that's in discovery mode, trying to decide which course to take next, versus knowing and diving right into the content for learning. So we reworked our dashboard elements to afford both. So if you can see here, I have a dashboard card. If I, as a learner, click on the thumbnail, the course description, or actually anywhere on the card other than the action button, I will go into our new discovery modal. In the center here, it has a ton of information about the course in terms of the description, the lesson syllabus, resources, things of that nature, as well as we've made course posters a first-class citizen now. So no longer are you required to use a single course banner for the entire portal. You can surface your much more engaging posters front and center on your discovery modal. You might provide more information on those posters, and that will help your learners choose which learning to take on. But again, the primary action here, or the primary workflow, is to click on the action view here, or start or resume. It will actually take you and enroll the learner into the course and go into our new course player on the right. So they're going directly into the first lesson, or the lesson that they left off at. They're fully immersed in the context of the course with the course details at the bottom, their lesson navigation on the right. And again, this is a single click from any dashboard element right into course playing. And I'll show you this in a brief demonstration in a bit, but no longer, you can probably notice, will there be an interstitial course details page from which the learner has to launch in and out of lessons. We believe this is going to streamline their time to completion as well, by just staying right in their course and focused on their course. And the team has worked with extreme diligence to ensure that all the course access, like prereqs, terms, and expiry, as well as lesson transition states for third-party completion, are still honored. And as you can see on both the discovery modal with the plus sign and from the card ellipsis, there will still be secondary actions to simply enroll in the course. But again, our primary action or primary goal and primary action will be jumping and streamlining the time to learning by clicking on the action button. Our third major element of the July release, we've added a new tile, completely new tile called What's Next, to surface the learner's top priority items. And this includes mandatory courses expiring soon, due soon, as you can see here in the image on the left. Oh, my apologies. And also ILC sessions upcoming, all within the next 7 days. So we developed this as the first double height tile. You can see the tall container configuration on the right. And this is because we think the likelihood of this being a great value as a one-stop shop for your learners must-do learning right on the dashboard. And again, I will show you this in a moment. But it also reduces the time to learning by, if you can imagine, learners currently needing to search or click through to the catalog, then filter for mandatory courses before diving in to their must-do learning. Now it's a single click from the dashboard. And we've also given you the option to configure your What's Next tile, as you can see on the right, to include featured courses, which we believe many of you were using course thumbnails to showcase featured courses. Now, this in combination with the welcome banner, you can definitely draw attention to your featured courses more readily. And recommended courses using our Absorb intelligence can also be turned on for this What's Next tile. The fourth element of the July release was a more configurable welcome banner. So you may probably did not notice a major change, or your learners didn't, because we migrated existing welcome tiles with text and images to the new tile settings so that it didn't look different after the July release. But behind the scenes, if you look at the image on the right, you can see that there's much more configuration of text with multiple language support, foreground and background images, alignment of your text and images, and a preview of the welcome tile for desktop, tablet, and mobile resolutions. And you can make all the adjustments you need in this preview prior to surfacing it to your learners. And this came from one of your highly requested suggestions and ideas. Again, you needed a way to make much needed announcements and messages to your different departments, as well as market and promote your training for those with external partners and learners. So this is a way to do that. And I'll show you a simple, featured message on my sample dashboard in a moment. But here's an example on the left of a welcome tile that Nikki and our UX team put together for our UX study portal in May, and this was introducing the task at hand to those participating in the study. And again, you can see the power of including a set of instructions in conjunction with an engaging background image for your welcome tiles. So here are a few of the comments and feedback we received from those of you that participated in the UX study in May, as well as from early adopters of the phase 1 of the next generation learner experience. Just want to thank you all for your participation and for your feedback. So what's coming next, or what's coming soon with the November release? And that's more of your highly requested ideas. So in terms of the first area is around the course player. So the first item is video playback speeds, and this includes an admin configuration on video lessons, much like Disable Seeking, that affords you to determine whether or not learners can play their content at different speeds and whether that meets your requirements. Through our conversation with you in our ideas portal, we learned this admin control was a must, especially given regulatory and compliance requirements that do not allow for video lessons to be played at faster speeds. So we certainly included an admin configuration. Interestingly, in that conversation, we also uncovered that the use case for learners would also benefit from an accessibility standpoint to play video at slower speed. So it's awesome to hear multiple sides of the value here. And certainly for those courses that are not compliance courses, turning this on and allowing learners to learn at their own pace is of great value. The second course player refinement is around the floating toolbar that we changed. We heard from many of you after the new course player was delivered. It was great. It certainly streamlines time to learning and completion of learning, but we need to make some additional usability tweaks. So we have moved the actions on the floating toolbar to more appropriate locations to not impede on the actual lesson playing content that you have or that the learner is focused on. And I also, although I cannot guarantee this for the November release, we have also heard from you, and we're working on defaults to allow learners to start up their course player with the lesson player maximized, which will probably be very useful for courses with only one lesson, where you don't necessarily need the navigation and some of the detail around it. There'll be defaults also for including the sidebar navigation or the bottom details pane. But again, no promises on that for November, but the development team is actively working on that. In terms of transcript improvements, next second major element of the November release is two of, I think, your most highly requested and voted ideas in our ideas portal. Showing inactive courses on the learner's transcript so that learners can still see that they've been credited for completing courses. And this is regardless of whether you as an administrator have had to inactivate the course to remove it from the learner's catalog. Again, there's a configuration admin template setting to control this, but you can choose to, again, have learners see their completed courses, say, from past years that you've inactivated. The next element is launching courses from the transcript. And this is going to help streamline time to learning further, again, with another access point. So they'll be able to launch directly from transcript for both incomplete courses as well as completed courses, perhaps to go review what they've completed in the past. And lastly, we have recognized the ever-growing usage of resources as an alternative to courses to surface learning opportunities. So in order to make those more visually engaging and differentiate one from the other, we are introducing admin configuration for global resources. So now I'll jump into a brief demonstration of of these items. So first thing you'll likely notice is a significantly different look and feel for the learner dashboard here. Rather than the click-through tiles that you traditionally see on your dashboard, you now see tiles with a lot more detail available to the learner. And that starts with this welcome tile, which is configured to say, hey, you know, check out this featured course for October. Again, you can use this for marketing and promoting courses to external partners and customers. But again, that in combination with the what's next tile here, where it shows me a personalized list of my mandatory courses, those that are expiring tomorrow, coming due, and even this wind energy course or ILC session that I'm scheduled to attend on Friday at 9 a.m. So all of this information here, and I can also include the featured course as I mentioned earlier. So that in combination with the welcome banner directing me to it, I can now see and surface featured courses to my learners. On the right, you'll see another detailed tile, which we released last year with collaborations activity. Again, much more detail. I can go engage with one of my peers, Whitney. I can see detail about information being shared by my peers, socialized learning. I can jump into each of these topics much more seamlessly than the click-through tiles. So a couple of other list tiles that you might find appropriate here are news articles, FAQs, and leaderboards in combination with your what's next. So we hope you get a sense of how powerful these detailed tiles are and do give them a try. I'll just quickly show you the welcome tile configuration that I spoke to earlier. So if you go into your dashboard and edit your welcome tile, again, you can change the height of your welcome tile to include your image. I just really wanted to use it in conjunction with my existing billboards at the top of my dashboard, so I just made it very thin to just showcase an announcement to my learners. I can also configure text and include different language translations. And again, as you see, as I switch to a different language, my preview changes. I also have control here to switch to my different languages, as well as the different resolutions, and to make adjustments for desktop, mobile, tablet, and mobile. And as you can see, for the mobile version, this use of this text is not going to work very well, so I'd have to tweak my text and announcements to fit better. I also have the configurations around my foreground image, my background image as well. So let's now switch focus to the streamline workflows. If I go back to my dashboard, again, discovery, probably this is most valuable from a catalog, but if I click on any element now, even on the what's next tile, it will bring up this discovery modal with details about the course and lessons and my course posters front and center. And as you can imagine, as learners are looking to upskill and browse for opportunities, they can just quickly do that and find more information about each of the courses. So that's the discovery modal. But again, the streamlined one-click workflow I'll show here. I have this Solar Wave 101 course. I need to complete this. It's expiring tomorrow, so I have a single click now right into this course player. It's fully immersed. It's taking me back to the next lesson that I need to complete in my list. This is a task lesson. We have support for all of the different lessons, third-party lessons, video lessons. All of our lessons in our system now work in this course player. But if I go back to the video lesson here, I can show you some of the features of video lessons. Again, I'm going to use a single click maximize. You can see that the floating toolbar is gone. I have maximize available to me at the bottom. I have my previous and next and progress indicators at the top. But if I click maximize here and I start playing this video lesson, I have my playback speeds in the corner where I can slow down the video and watch and watch at a pace where I can perhaps take notes, or I can actually increase the speed to complete it. So those are, again, some of the video lesson or the items coming in November that you'll see released at the end of November. So let's switch focus again now to the transcript. And first, I'll show you actually where you can, under settings profile, where you can change and decide whether you want to show or not show inactive courses for your learners on their transcript. This setting I can turn on here. So when I go to my transcript, the learner will be able to see inactive courses on the transcript. Now, they're not showing up presently because the developers are still working on it. I did get a glimpse of it yesterday, and it is very close to completion, so that will be available in November release. But what I can show you is, again, the launch and the single click launch from the transcript. So you can see action buttons on the right here, whether it's completed courses or in progress courses. I have this course that I want to complete that I'm still in the progress on. And this is, again, going to launch me into my fully encapsulated course player. And I think that's about it from the demo. Or I can actually show you global resources just briefly here. If I go to my global resources now, you can see thumbnails have been added to global resources. So now I have more visually engaging thumbnails appearing in the catalog for global resources that differentiate this 5G course from this, or this 5G resource from this woodworking resource, as opposed to what previously was default images for your portal. So we hope all of these are of great value to you, and we welcome your feedback on these. So I'll go back to our presentation. And for those of you who attended Craig Bassford's product roadmap presentation a few weeks back, this is a glimpse of what the learner experience team will be working toward in 2023. At this point, we're still working to define the specific capabilities and features. However, again, you can likely recognize the trend toward focus on the learner in terms of upskilling, personalization, gamification, and social learning. So to reiterate what I stated earlier, I believe Absorb is in the unique position to bring you and your learners the best of both worlds, admin-centric and learner-centric learning opportunities, and it's all via one simple and engaging interface. For our final topic, I would like to quickly touch on a few ways you can continue to share your ideas with us. As Kim mentioned at the onset, we welcome you sharing your perspectives here in the Q&A, as well as in future discussions with your CSM in terms of gains that you see from the features and the direction we're going in. For example, the mandatory ILC session selection, features in the November release and beyond. In terms of pitfalls, I mentioned video playback speeds needing, admin configuration due to compliance training. That's a perfect example of where we appreciate you, raising your hand and telling us, this will not necessarily work without some tweaks. In terms of success, we realize we have a multi-year initiative on our hands, and even with the highest voted ideas and prioritized ideas, this is going to be concerted effort by the team for some time to come. So anything you see in terms of the features discussed, we need, anything we need to make this successful, and how we know when we're done, please do share those ideas as well. Another opportunity to share your ideas, to determine areas of improvement in the next generation learner experience. We have and will continue to use both high touch and low touch technique to observe learner behavior. The first is a live interview where one of our UX designers sits with you on a video call and they silently observe as you complete a set of pre-assigned tasks. This will afford you to express your thoughts on tiny UI details as well as broad impressions of workflows. The second is a much more self-paced, it's also task-based, but experimentation with our next generation learner experience. So we invite you, and we did engage many of you, our clients, with both approaches in May, and it was extremely helpful in refining our delivery before our July release. And for that, we thank you again. We look forward, and we certainly welcome any of you that are interested in participating to join us in this, any UX studies. And finally, certainly not least, we take your feedback seriously. As shared previously, we sifted through many of your suggestions posted to our previous suggestion and our current ideas portal and with your CSMs. And we have delivered and are committed to more than 18 ideas from the current ideas portal for 2022. So please do keep them coming. And that takes us to the Q&A, where I will turn things back over to Kim.
Thanks, Demetrio. I really enjoyed your presentation and learned some things along the way. So that was great. I'm sure our audience and participants learned some things as well. Thanks everyone for your questions. We've got quite a few coming in. If you have some questions, continue to add them in our Q&A section, and Demetrio will do his best to get through as many as we can here today. So thanks again for your engagement and your interest. Demetrio, there's quite a few questions around the video player, so maybe we can address a few of those at the beginning. Sure, great. So with these updates, will there be back and next buttons on the course player when it's maximized?
When the course is maximized, the navigations for going from, I assume it's from one lesson to the next. I don't believe they'll be showing any longer. We've had many requests that said we don't want anything impeding on the view of the lesson content. So if that's the question, we don't envision having the previous and next for lesson navigation showing. But I will check with the development team because it is still in progress. In terms of where those controls will appear, on the sidebar or not. So I'll take that question back to the development team.
That's great. There's a couple of questions around that navigation. So another question along the same lines is, how will the course player work with third parties that already have their own built-in next and play buttons on the slides?
Right. Yes. So that we heard that loud and clear, and that's why we are working on those defaults to start in a maximize mode. If that is the preference, it will start up with your third-party content front and center, with only that navigation for the third-party content being in play. And if there will be ways to bring the sidebar back in for navigation through lessons, if there's multiple lessons, or the course details at the bottom as well, if the learner chooses. But they could, there will be defaults in the future. And again, I can't promise that for November, but I can tell you that it's actively being developed right now.
Okay, that's great to know. One last question around the player controls. With the added player controls to skip to another lesson, how can we develop courses that users do not confuse the course controls to absorb new controls? I find it's easy to try to move to another slide and mistakenly move to another lesson?
Right. Guess, yeah, the way we've positioned the previous and next now, that's coming out in November, where the previous and next is on the lesson bar navigation. We're hoping that addresses your question. Thank you for that question, right? Because before it was floating, or currently, I should say, currently, because what's in production, it's floating right over the lesson player where your third-party content is. No longer will it be positioned there, because we heard those concerns. And so we're hoping that new location on the sidebar will, be above the lesson navigation, whereas the navigation for the third party will be right in your main window.
Excellent. So it'll be obvious that they're
Yes.
separate controls.
Yes.
That's great. We have a number of questions around enrollments to ILCs.
Sure.
So will you still allow admin enrollments to ILCs without selecting a session?
I believe, yes, we did not make any changes to the admin side. So admin enrollment, you can still, I believe, unless I'm not aware of a change on the admin side, admins can either enroll the learner in the ILC only or choose a session to enroll them in. And again, most of the pain that we heard was from learner actions doing this. We don't want to prohibit admins doing what they need to do if they just need to get them into the ILC without the session.
Okay. Thank you. The new ILC enrollment option is making Mark really happy, but he has a question about whether or not we're going to see the calendar graphic update to show both start and end dates. The users are still confused if the session is one day or a multiple day.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I know that some work was done on the calendar. I don't believe that is in the current plan, but I can certainly bring that back to the team to see. But yeah, there are details in the ILC details, but again, the calendar view was not delivered or is not delivered for the November release.
Okay, but you have identified it and know that that's something that the users want to see. That's great. Yes. Okay, so lots of interest around the welcome tiles and the what's next tiles.
Right.
Speaking of the welcome tile, do the billboards override the welcome tile, Demetrio?
No, they do not. They're totally independent. If I'm understanding your question correctly, as you saw on my dashboard, I had both a billboard and a welcome tile, so they can coexist. I used billboards for more engaging look, whereas I used my welcome tile for just an announcement. But you could just use your welcome tile, or you could just use your billboard, or both together.
Great. I love that flexibility.
Yes.
Welcome tiles. Are the text on the welcome tiles readable by a screen reader for accessibility purposes?
It's a good question. I believe so. Yes, I can get 100% guarantee on that. But with every feature we do on the learner experience, we make sure that it is WCAG conformant. So I believe yes, that is. But I will get conclusive answer.
I believe it is as well, but yes. Let's get conclusive answers on that one. The welcome banner that you showed, check out this featured course for October, is that clickable?
You can add a link to it if you like, just like you could previously. So that is something that you can do. And if you want to direct them to a deep link to that course, I think that would work.
Excellent. Can admins customize the order of the what next tile?
Currently, no, that is not one of the configurations we offer, but it's certainly a great idea, and we see that in our ideas portal, and we'll take that into consideration going forward.
Okay, that's great. Is the what next tile replacing the mandatory area so there's no duplication?
In terms of mandatory as a as a banner, I believe, or a this is your choice. Again, you have the choice to add the what's next tile to your dashboard in conjunction with the mandatory banner, but that's all under your control. So
Great. I'm gonna skip around a little bit now,
sure,
Demetrio.
sure.
Back to video playback for this one. Is the video playback by course, or is it a system-wide setting of off or on?
It is lesson by lesson. So you can choose to have, it on for one lesson and off for a compliance lesson where you don't want the learners to have that control.
Thank you. I'll follow up with another new player question. How do
Sure.
curriculums with multiple courses appear in the new player?
We left curriculums currently as they are today. So you would go into your curriculum details, but as you launch each individual course, you go into this course player. So no changes to the curriculum flow, but it does streamline, obviously, because before you had to go to your curriculum, click on a course, go to the course details page, and then you'd have to go in and out of your lessons. So now it's just a single click from the curriculum to the course player, complete that course, come back to your navigation will come back to the curriculum details where you go to the next course. So I hope that answers your question.
Thanks. Charles has a question related. Should we pivot from curriculum with courses to more courses with several lessons due to the new course player?
Good question. I mean, there is pace progress in both, but I think curriculum, has it's very valuable to many of our clients. So I don't know if I can make that judgment call in general. I think it is basically utilizing the features of each to your benefit.
Thank you.
Good question, though.
Love
to talk to you more about that and actually understand.
Okay, well, we know who asked the question.
Yes, that's right.
So we can connect you. That's great. For the social aspect, is there the ability to switch on anonymous?
No, currently that you are basically who you are as a learner in your platform, and you're basically any posts that you make in the collaboration are as you as the learner. So no, we do not have an anonymous feature.
Thanks. Is the language translation you showed or set up by the administration? Sorry, that's my dog, if anybody heard it.
Well, it's okay. Is it automatic? Was that the question? Or is it by the administrator? Yeah, it is basically by you as the administrator. There is no automatic. So you basically set it up for each of the languages, using an outside tool to make that translation.
Thank you. How does it work from the admin side to add the thumbnails?
Essentially, it's another picker. You just basically can choose another file to use as the image. So it's added to your resource editor. So you can pick your resource as well as pick a separate, an image for your thumbnail. So very straightforward currently. In the future, we'll tie in, some of the forthcoming changes with the new uploader and media library and even course thumbnail suggestions, which we're working on. We can definitely look toward affording that, but right now it's a very straightforward picker to choose that image from the resource editor.
So it makes it nice and simple to add an exciting image to your course. That's great.
Yes.
Will we be able to upload images to an FAQ rather than being limited to using a URL?
I
We're
don't know the answer to
challenging
that
you
too yet.
a
I
lot
don't
this
know
year.
the answer to that question. So sorry, who is asking this? Is it, I
That's
can
great.
certainly get back to you. Okay, I will
We'll
have
get
to get
back to
back to
Greg.
you on that question. Yeah.
That's great. How are you doing, Demetrio? Are you up for a few
I'm
more
good. Yes,
questions?
sure. Let's keep
Okay,
it going. Yeah.
that's great. On the ideas portal, there's mention that the report that combines multiple courses will be released this year. Can we expect that to happen?
I need more information on that. Multiple courses. Maybe the individual can elaborate on that to
Yeah,
get me
if that
more.
person can add more to the Q&A, I'd appreciate that, and we'll
That'd
try
be
to answer
awesome.
that question. Thank you. Okay. Have you considered, back to social learning, have you considered adding forums inside the courses as part of social learning?
Forums within the courses, you can link a collaboration to a course, whether it's an online course on ILC. So when we develop collaborations, we envision that was, and this is what we heard in conversation with many of you, that continuing the conversation with your peers, especially after an ILC, an instructor-led course, was valuable. So you basically can link a course to a collaboration through either the collaboration configuration or the course configuration. There's a way to link the two, so that it shows up right on the course and says to continue your conversation. You can, or even to do it real time while you're in the course, you can use a collaboration. And we've used that in many of our, well, in our last summit last year, as well as in our client UX study in the spring. We used a collaboration to gather feedback. So during the session, so definitely a valuable tool.
Thank you. Will there be further customization options for the what's next tile, such as displaying more than a week?
That, yes, we have that on our radar. I can't promise when that will be delivered, but that in conjunction with the previous question about configuring the order, we definitely have seen, and we will take a look at that.
Thank you. Here's an interesting question. What is Absorb doing to improve the user experience for tracking or integrated learning that happens outside of the LMS, such as attending a conference or taking a Udemy course, for example?
Right. So those are some of the things that I think we're investigating, right? We certainly are hearing mention open platforms, some of the LXP type features of learners curating their content, or being able to find and surface learning that is of interest to them. We have done some research and experimentation into, skill ontologies, expression of interest this year. But again, those are something that I will bring to the learner experience team and to Craig Bassford as they work on their 2023 roadmap.
Excellent. Thank you. Resources. Can resources be customized for viewing by department?
You can. You have availability rules around your resources. So yes, I believe you can target your resources to specific departments. So I would say yes to that.
Excellent. Are there any plans for an ordering by priority feature to be available?
So this is ordering
by priority features.
So this would be, I think that's what our ideas portal is intended to, if I understand your.
I think so. Sorry.
Correctly.
Yes, it's related to the ideas portal. Yes.
Yes. So yeah. So I certainly continue to encourage you to vote on those, and we, if you look at it, recently, we monitor it weekly, and most of the top priority ideas have or will be addressed here by November. Within 2022, and we continue to chip away through those in high priority order.
Thank you. We have Christina, who asked that question earlier about the dashboard showing for oh, sorry, Kristen, looking for her answer. We got some more information. The report to show all enrollments for all courses. The idea that multiple courses are shown on one report. Is that possible?
Sorry, I'm taking a quick look. I apologize.
No, that's all right.
Oh, okay, this is a reporting request. If I understand it correctly, it's categorized under reporting, so it hasn't crossed my desk necessarily. So I can bring this to the reporting team and bring that to their attention, Christina.
Okay, well, Demetrio, we only have a couple of minutes left, so we'll pick one last question to answer, and then we'll let these good folks go on their way. Thank you, everyone, for your great questions and for participating. We really appreciate it. So, Demetrio, one last question about integration with video conferencing tools. Will Absorb be releasing more improvements to Zoom integrations and team integrations?
Again, I don't want to speak out of turn here because it's not in my purview necessarily, but I do believe there are items on the roadmap to improve around attendance tracking and things of that nature. But I would direct you, to those individuals. I can bring this to the integrations team attention, and we can get you more definitive answers. So I'll take your question from the chat or the Q&A and bring that to that team's attention.
Thank you so much, Demetrio. I really appreciate it. What
My
you've
pleasure.
done today. You've really illustrated how much we want to hear from our customers and to make sure that we're building the right thing for their needs.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah, and the focus on the learner experience is very exciting. So once again, thank you everyone for attending this conference session. Thank you, Demetrio, for an excellent presentation. A reminder that the presentation will be available for viewing from the Summit portal starting next week. And if you do have more questions, you can keep them coming at virtualsummit@absorblms.com. Thanks, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.